Hi, and good afternoon. My name is Lori Long, and I have the immense pleasure of interviewing my friend Christina Vividor, Money Coach Chris. So we will get started. You just saw this beautiful video and heard a little bit about her money styles, the emotional styles of money. Chris, will you tell us, first of all, hold up this beautiful book that you have written with much life experience behind that. You open the book by saying, "You're not broken, the system is." What do you mean by that? I think that's a really good clarification point for people to know the why behind why this book is so powerful.
Yes, thank you so much. So I've been in finance for 25 years, and I found that a lot of times I'd give advice or I'd create a plan for someone and they wouldn't follow through for any random reason. Some people do, don't get me wrong, but most don't. And I couldn't figure out, one, why they wouldn't listen, and two, people would feel like a failure if they didn't stick to a plan, including myself, to be honest. And there's a lot of financial professionals that aren't always perfect either, I've been finding. And so when I say that you're not broken, the system is. And if anybody knows anything about all the systems that we have, education, anything out there, all the things that we're taught to fit in these boxes. And I just don't think that we're meant to fit in boxes. I think that everybody is different. We're all wired differently. We all are all attached to different things differently. And so when I say that, what I mean is, we need to break the mold. We need to change how we think about money and not say that, oh, I'm a failure at something because the traditional rules tell me I'm a failure. So instead, we create rules and boundaries that fit how you're attached or wired with money.
Insightful and brilliant, I love it. So will you go over the financial attachment styles again, just kind of an overview of what that looks like to people that are just now learning about it for the first time?
I will, and I don't know if anybody knows what the actual attachment styles are with relationships, but I'm going to go over the 5 financial attachment styles and how they might pair with an attachment style. So first we have a security saver, and that's somebody that's most aligned with an anxious attachment style. A security saver is somebody that's like, maybe you hoard cash or you feel so stressed or anxious if you don't have enough money or you don't have a certain amount in your savings account. The next two, the experience creator, which is my first attachment style, and gift giver, which I think is your first attachment style. Those most align with a disorganized attachment style. And then we have our practical provider. Practical provider was my close second. And that's aligned mostly with a secure attachment style. And a practical provider is somebody, in every attachment style, one is not good or bad.
Right.
It's just what you are, and there's good parts about each style and then not so great parts about each style. So with a practical provider, even though they want to make sure everything is taken care of, and they don't usually ask for help. So they're always doing it themselves and thinking that it's better if they do it and nobody else can help them. And then our last one is our freedom facilitator, and it sounds cool because you want to be free, but that one most aligns with an avoidant attachment style, and they want to be free because they don't want to be told what to do, why to do it, or how to do it. They want to be completely avoidant of everything. They might not even want to look at their money, and they for sure don't want to talk about it in a setting with their partners or anybody.
So true. There's so much guilt around money. It's astounding how money just absolutely is either really positive or really negative. Talk about, in your experience, the earliest moment that people's relationship with money actually begins and why that's an important clarification point when you're digging into these styles.
So attachment styles in all forms start forming at the age of 2. So it starts forming when we don't even know what's happening. And in the news interview, I talked about how it's not so much what you're taught, like it's not so much what your parents or your family tells you, it's more about what they see and what they experience. So attachment styles are things that you experience. So it can start as early as 2, and then it goes. And as you grow up as a child, and then in your teens, and then in your early 20s when you're like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Those are all forming attachments.
Mm-hmm. And here's one of the most insightful questions I think you can answer. Why doesn't earning more money fix the anxiety, even though everybody thinks I just gotta make more money?
Okay, so real life experience. I said earlier that my very first attachment style is experience creator. And I do talk about this in my book. I used to think that I was broken because I just would make money and then I wouldn't have it. But it was because I also, every time I had money, I'd be like, oh, let's go do this thing. Because I would show my expressions, my love with my family and my kids. Here, let's go do this. Here, let me help you do that. Well, then I did start making a lot more money. And I just went on bigger, more fun trips. So it doesn't matter your attachment with money. It doesn't matter how much money you make. The attachment is still going to be there. So more money could be helpful if you have a plan and you know how you're attached to money. But if you don't, you're just going to be spending more money.
Amazing. Thank you for that answer. And then what is one common money behavior people shame themselves for that's actually a trauma response?
Oh, I definitely think all of them have some type of trauma response in there, even the practical provider, because that's somebody that doesn't want help with anything. But for sure, what I have found in my research, both experience creator and gift giver have a sense of loss. Experience creator is maybe they lost somebody early on or had a very traumatic event happen where it's abrupt. A gift giver also probably had some type of traumatic thing and they might have been showered with love. And all the people, when I was doing my research, myself included, I lost my biological mom when I was 5. And so and then I lost my dad when I was like in my 20s. So for me, I'm like, life is too short. Let me just live it to the fullest. But I found a lot of other people that have those two typically had a loss very early on.
So when you read the book, and there's actually an online quiz, that's how we identify what our money emotional attachment style is. What changes do people need to stop trying to fix their money behavior and start to understand, and how does this book help guide them through that process?
I love that question. So in the book, I talk about all the attachment styles, and I also want to point out that we can be more than one attachment style, and not one is better than the others, but when you understand especially what your top 2 attachment styles are, so my top one was experience creator. You might have saw on the news, my last name was Rodriguez and now it's Vividor. So my ex-husband and I had completely different attachment styles. I experienced creator, him a freedom facilitator. So we didn't really talk about money at all because he didn't want to. But now we had a moment that we did when we found out what our attachment styles were. It was more of an awareness. So he was like, oh, okay, I understand. You're not trying to control me. You're not trying to do these things. You just want to be aware so that we can do things together. So the book talks about a bunch of different couples that have different attachment styles, even individuals that have different attachment styles. And then knowing what your attachment style is to money allows you to create better rules and boundaries with your money so that you can be more successful. So for instance, let's say that you're in a marriage or your partner, one of you is a security saver. So that's somebody that doesn't want to let go of money for them to feel safe. And then your other partner is an experienced creator. Then you might have a lot of fights. Or you can create a rule and boundary that says, hey, we can go on these trips, we can do these fun things after we have this much money saved in our savings account, right? Or, hey, I know that you want to go experience something right now. We don't have to go to Paris. We can go down to the beach and just hang out for the day. So just knowing what your styles are so that you're not suffocating your attachment styles, you're listening to it, you're feeling heard, both partners are feeling heard, and you're creating rules and boundaries for each other so that you can feel more successful and fulfilled.
I love that. So when you read this book, it's very much like a workbook. You work through a lot of things. When couples, you just talked about couples fighting. When couples often fight about small purchases, and you're talking about one attachment style versus the other attachment style, what is that first step as a couple, if I've read the book and they haven't read the book, or vice versa, or neither one of us has read the book? What's that first step to getting to that place where we're not acting out of trauma responses and we really are walking towards this with clarity?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing is to take the financial attachment style quiz. It is on my website. It's moneyclarityco.com. And you can take the attachment style quiz, find out what you are, and then I like for people to have money dates, because if you say, hey, let's have a money meeting, or let's talk about our finances, especially if one of you is a freedom facilitator, you're probably like, no, thank you. So instead, let's go on a date with our money as a partnership, and let's talk about things. I've created what I call a money date agenda or playbook, so that people know what to talk about and how to talk about it. And also I talk a lot in the book about not being judgmental. Because knowing that we're all human and we're all wired differently, this is a chance for us to kind of rewire ourselves and our attachments or our habits so that we can be in alignment with who we are.
Talk about the next steps. So if I have a young child, what can I do in the future with you on this?
Next steps. So first, with this book, I highly recommend that you get it and read it, number one. I do have a community where people can join to learn more. I am doing some more fun things. I actually wrote a children's book series that will start coming out later this year. A fun fact, I wrote the children's book series before I wrote this book. I just wasn't ready for it yet, because I believe that we should talk about money. And when we were growing up, we were always taught not to talk about money. Well, my mission is to change how the world sees money. And so I want people to talk about money. So I want to educate the parents, the adults, and allow them to learn how to educate their children by bringing the emotional side into money as well. And so my children's book series that will come out later also brings not just like how to do things with your money, but the feelings behind it, the emotions behind how money might make you feel. And each book has a parent guide. So I'm teaching the parents and the kids at the same time, and really teaching the parents how to continue to talk to their kids about money.
Which is why, even if I wasn't wasn't one of my best friends, I love this because I've been in education a very long time, and I've worked in different levels of education. Generational change and generational impact starts with the parents, and then it rolls downhill. So I think this is a phenomenal resource. And if you are a person of faith, I believe God calls us to be good stewards of our finances and our resources that He gives us. And this is such a great way to understand it, because knowledge is power, and wisdom is going to take you so much further down the road. And instead of putting your head in the sand, like I'm a gift giver, because that's my love language, is giving gifts. So I'm gonna spend my money not wisely, because I just love you and I want to buy you something, because that's how I love you. But understanding the impact financially down the road is so important. So thank you for writing this book. Thank you for saying yes to what you were called to do. And thank you for joining us for this interview today.
All right, before we start actually giving her a round of applause for this wonderful book and project, it's growing, it's educating, it's wonderful. We want to take a couple of questions from the crowd. If you have a question, make your way to the back, and you can just say the question in the microphone based upon what you've heard, based upon what you may struggle with yourself. Some people struggle with finances in terms of the holiday season. We just had the holiday season, and most people really do end up paying for the Christmas gifts for the rest of the year. And that's a problem. Maybe we need to ask, how do you overcome spending what you don't have to make those who are in your life stay around? So if you have any questions, we're going to take a few from the crowd, and I can field them, or if you're not mic shy, you can say them yourself in the microphone. Okay, we are actually streaming online as well, so there's some people in the group chat who actually do have questions. So again, this is the Connected Waters Film Festival here in Winter Haven, Florida. We are live streaming, and we actually do have people who have questions. One of the questions someone has is in reference to what inspired you to make this book? What inspired you to make this book? That's the question from Christina.
I love that question. So it started out, I've been talking to a lot of my clients, and I did a lot of speaking about your relationship with money. And in 2024, I now call that my year of healing. I took a year off from everything and just sat there. It was the first time that my ex-husband and I got separated. My kids were grown. I was in this horrible place. I was going to a lot of therapy, and it was in a therapy session that I finally connected. I was working on my own attachment styles, and it was where I realized that, oh, maybe that's the thing, that's the missing piece with your money. Even though I've been working with your people's relationship with money for so long, I never knew how to actually explain it so people could really understand what I was trying to say. Without having a 45-minute dissertation on what I was trying to say. And so I actually wrote this book. This is the one that got printed was the second version. The first version I wrote for my clients. This version that got printed, I wrote for myself. It was my therapy that I needed for myself. And as a financial professional, I put it in the book, I wasn't perfect with money. And taking these strategies, I am now becoming, again, whole from where I needed to be.
Okay, that's great. Actually, we had one question, and this is a little bit of a challenge because you mentioned how in relationships people have different attachment styles. And this viewer had an experience they described where they were like, how do you make a determination whether someone is a bad spender in relationships?
So a bad spender, maybe not making great choices. Bad spender, when I think about that, I'll relate it to maybe somebody that's an experience creator or a gift giver or even a freedom facilitator. And it's not that maybe they're making bad choices, but maybe they just don't have the right plan that fits their attachment style. So I think the first thing is understanding how you're attached to money. What is your attachment style? And then looking at and figuring out, well, what kind of rules and boundaries do I need to make with my money so that I can make better decisions?
All right, we have a question from Miss
Mary.
Yes.
Mary, yes. I just have a question. If you're starting, you're working with the working class, who are working from paycheck to paycheck, how do you get them to focus on money management?
That's a great question. And I love that question too, because especially in the economy that we're in now, I first let people realize that in today's world, you have to be making, with a family of four, $150,000 or more to actually even be able to live, right? And to save a little bit. So I first let them know it's okay. And then second, you have to look at your money. And the question, I know we didn't really talk about it, but the question about you buy Christmas gifts and then all year you're paying them off. You know that we don't really have to buy gifts for anybody, right? What people really want is connection. And that's a hard thing because we are taught that you must buy gifts, right? And so if you're living paycheck to paycheck right now and you're really trying to shift that, one, you have to look at your money. You can't just say, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then see if there's anywhere that you can change or get lean. And I am finding that that's a little bit more difficult in today's society. So then we come up with ways, well then, how can we create more income? And if we are living paycheck to paycheck, which could be fine, as long as we're not living off credit cards paycheck to paycheck, you know what I mean? Because I see that a lot happening right now too. But be aware of your money, be aware of your attachment style so that you can create a plan. And even if you're saving $1 or $5 every month or every week, it's something, and then it'll eventually build. And this is why I have this passion to help even younger people, because I want to break the cycle of all the things that we're supposed to be doing.
Okay, thank you so much for your question, Miss Mary. We have one more question before we conclude this. Very informative again. Make sure you go to Money Clarity. That website was posted behind us. We'll make sure to include that as well in the notes because again, you may want to follow up and ask, how can I actually receive services to get to financial freedom? You may need help. Sometimes it's not enough to just see a 30-minute presentation. Maybe you need counseling. Maybe you need someone who actually holds you accountable for making a budget and a spreadsheet and give you innovative tips on how to keep that budget. And sometimes we also try to purchase affection. We try to stay in people's lives based upon giving gifts. And how do you overcome that? How do you show your affection in a way that is more healthy? These are all questions that Christina is an expert in, again, in the financial industry for 25 years. So we look forward to you reaching out to her and finding out how can you actually improve your spending styles. So we have one more question before we conclude this wonderful, informative session. You said it took about $150,000 for a family of four to operate comfortably. This question comes from somebody who's single, but they're single and they're now a single parent, and they're struggling financially. Their question is, how do I transition to stability when you become a single parent?
I love that question, and it's challenging, especially because it's not just that you're a single parent, it's all the pressure is on you to make all of the money. And then that added pressure adds more to your already stressed out situation. And I have been a single parent. I know plenty of my friends that are single parents, and I understand how much stress that can be. And the way to just get to stability is you don't have a partner to count on, but you can count on yourself. So have money dates with yourself. Look at your money, understand how you're attached to money so that you can create rules and boundaries for your money. And with your child, I don't care how old your child is, start talking about money now and let them know that, hey, we can't do these things. When I was younger, when my kids were younger, they wanted to do certain things. And so I would say to them, I'm sorry, we can't do that right now because I made some bad decisions and I created debt, and so now I'm paying those off. And so I wouldn't hide it. I would say, hey, I did these things, and that was to educate them on things of like what not to do. So as a single parent, I first applaud you, and second, look at your money, understand how you're attached to money, and just take it day by day, and know that you're going to be provided for. And I don't know if you believe in God or if you believe that somebody is out there helping you, but having faith is one of the best things that you can have on your side.
Definitely great, a lot of great information there. Setting boundaries, being honest about where you are, transparent. That's the beginning to, not just recovering from financial problems, but honestly getting clear with yourself about what goals need to be set moving forward. We actually have one more question, an inspired guest. Guest, tell us your name before you ask your question.
I'm Valerie Sanders, and my question is, I am disabled now, and before I worked, and I wanted to know how to at least to manage my money, because that would be much better. And I was growing up, I could definitely say now, that I was spoiled, and now it's like, I expect everybody to spoil me.
Me too.
So is your question, how are you gonna get past that mindset and start to recover?
Yeah, I love that question. Really what I hear you're saying is you're in a different income bracket that you used to be in. I see that a lot happening recently as well. And one thing that we need to just let go of what we used to be, who we used to be, what used to happen, and look at where we are today and have gratitude for we're here, we're able to still spend time with our loved ones. And we all want to feel spoiled. I do too. And at the same time, like spoil yourself with love. You don't have to be spoiled with money. if you want to be spoiled and you need friendship, maybe just call a friend and say, hey, can you come hang out with me? Or can I come hang out with you? But the biggest thing is you have to let go of who you once were and focus on what's the facts today, right? The other part of understanding how you're attached to money so that you can detach and make better logical decisions when that needs to be made. And the biggest part of that, especially if you once did and now you don't, then know it's okay now. Okay for me to be here in this place and these things happen to me, and now I'm just moving forward today.
All right, that was a very thought-provoking response. Again, we want to thank Money Coach Chris for coming here and really, enlightening us in a way that I don't know that everybody was really ready for. Some deep conversations, some wonderful questions from the online community and the people who are attending. Let's give it up for Money Coach Chris. Give her a round of applause. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for your thoughtful words, your creative writing, and taking the time to actually care about people enough to write this book. Wonderful stuff. So we're going to take a brief interlude here. We're going to tell you what's coming up, even though it is